Over the past day, there's been a ton of additional news around Fallout 76. We got the latest Inside the Vault article, which shares new details on Wastelanders, and something pretty cool about it, this is actually a totally new feature that is getting highlighted. Something that up until this point we have literally never heard of before, but then separate from that, we also got a new hotfix update for Fallout 76 by Bethesda. And although, of course, almost all these hotfixes are pretty good, I do want to explain why this is a little bit of a lesser one, with Bethesda falling short this time around. If you guys enjoy the content, you can leave a like or even just get subscribed. In just a few weeks' time now, I will be going to PAX East, where there will be a Wastelanders demo, and I definitely will be playing it, so I will be able to give you my first impressions on that new DLC. But otherwise, taking a look first at the new Inside the Vault article, what Bethesda describes in this is something called Allies, a totally new feature coming to Fallout with Wastelanders. What these are going to be are new random encounters or NPCs you could just find throughout Fallout 76. When you encounter one though, you will have an opportunity to recruit them for your camp, to basically be a stationary thing at your camp. For some of them, it's just going to be a matter of saying, hey, come live at my camp. While for some others, it is described how you will have to do certain quests or complete some kind of challenge for them. And Bethesda does explain how each of these allies will have different personalities, so hopefully some actual depth to them. And even further, sometimes completing some of the tasks or quests that they do give will give you further insights into who they are, potentially even their backstory. The one explicit example they give us is with Beckett, who is described as a man life trying to escape and atone for a troubled past. And with him, you're going to have an initial task that will begin a questline, and via that questline, you'll get more into the backstory of Beckett and how exactly he ended up where he is now. And it seems like there's going to be significant or notable versions of these allies and insignificant ones also. They mentioned that Beckett is one of the named versions, so he does have more going on with him, but there'll likely be just some miscellaneous creature, maybe NPC, that you can settle at your camp, but they won't have nearly as much depth as some of these more notable characters. But once the ally is at your camp, there's actually a few things you could do with them. For some, it'll unlock a new item that you can place in your camp. Like with Beckett, you could set up a little bar for him. And this is functional. Bethesda describes how you could either get drinks from him or just have conversations with him, or these allies will give you additional tasks. For some, it seems like they'll just do it after they're at your camp. For others, you have to complete their quest first. But then from there, it seems like it's going to be daily or radiant quests that some of these allies will give you. Probably fairly similar to Preston Garvey, but with a different twist on it. Although, you can only have one ally at a time, so when you want to have somebody else, like not Beckett, you could place down the other ally's camp item. And a little tidbit they throw in at the end, it seems like these guys will have affinity with them, and will in fact be romanceable if you get to a high enough affinity. So all around, I thought that was pretty cool and interesting. One of the big things in Fallout 76 is camp design. A lot of people spend a lot of money on the Atomic Shop and a lot of time in game getting their camps to just look awesome. So I like how they're adding additional ways for you actually to customize or personalize your camps. I think that definitely is a good direction to take that system. Although, hopefully with Wastelanders, we see an increase on the camp budget. There's an issue right now where a lot of people have hit the camp limit, so they can't build anything else, but then new stuff like this is getting added. So they would have to delete something unless the budget is raised. Apparently that was going to come to private servers at some point, but we haven't heard much about that since Fallout first launched. Although something I will be curious about is how many of these allies are there? Like let's say there's only 3 or 4 named NPCs, then every single camp you go to, you're now just going to see the same 3-4 faces. Or if one's particularly valuable or gives you a good daily quest, I'm sure everyone will just use that one guy. But overall, definitely a cool one. Separate from that, something else that came to Fallout 76 today was maintenance. I talked about this at the end of my video yesterday, and if you missed it, I will have it linked in the little eye. They took the servers down and basically addressed 2 things, and this originally got me really excited. One of which was a cheat or exploit that allowed Atomic Shop items to be shared with other players. So basically, if I own something on the Atomic Shop, I could actually put it in a container and then anyone can loot it and then they would have that item. And then separately, another related to camps, which Bethesda is vague with this, but that camp exploit was actually a dupe exploit and one of the more popular ones that has been getting quite a bit of attention. So to briefly go over what exactly these did, for the Atomic Shop item sharing glitch, basically it would allow you to put an Atomic Shop item into a shared container, so a cash register. I won't explain how this was done, but then after the item's in the cash register, literally anybody could come up and take it. So take for example here, this Fallout 1st exclusive armor, if you were standing next to me, you could just take that armor without needing Fallout 1st. This is possible on all platforms because it's not using any third-party tools. Separately, the recent camp dupe glitch involved using a certain camp item. I don't want to get too explicit, although this one did require a third-party tool and as such is only available on PC. So awesome, Bethesda patched both of these, now the game will be a little bit cleaner, and except no, that's not exactly what happened. Although technically yes, Bethesda did patch both of these glitches, they only patched them with that specific item. Like with this one, you can no longer do it with a cash register, but you could do it with literally any other container. So although it might be a little bit more difficult in instances, it's not like it's actually fixed, it's just the predominant method was fixed, but the other still working one is still there. And the same exact thing applies to the camp dupe glitch. You can no longer do it with the camp item that everyone was using before, but now you could just literally switch to a different camp item and do it with the exact same method. All they did was patch that one individual item, not the fundamentals of the exploit. And even further, of course, with all of this, none of these items were removed, which for me was kind of shocking for the Fallout 1 stuff. But if you did illegitimately get one of those items on any console, you still probably have it, or I haven't seen any reports of anyone getting those removed. And even further, there's been no bans handed out for this. And now I say this is concerning because it's been a recent trend with Bethesda that they're kind of slow or lackluster when responding to the fundamental problems or even handing out bans. They've been pretty good and quicker about getting these hot fixes out, addressing some of these exploits, although obviously with this particular instance they didn't do enough. But to not ban some of the people abusing this or to not remove the items that you can get from it is just bad. I think one of the major reasons is it's really hard to track that all down. It would take a lot of manpower and effort. But just overall, this is something Bethesda has to get better at in the future. Many of these exploits or glitches have caused serious issues in games, specifically with the trading economy. And although Bethesda does patch out some of the exploits, they've done almost nothing as far as some of the items themselves being spawned or created in-game. Although, to end this video on a more positive note, there were some other news around Fallout 76. In-game right now, the Purveyor is having its mystery pick event. So for 60 legendary scripts, you could actually get a random 3-star legendary item, but you don't know if it'll be an armor or a weapon. But it is typically a popular way to actually get some of those weapons because it is 40 script lower than actually buying a weapon directly. This will last until the 17th, although even outside of that, we also learned that the Purveyor is moving. It's not entirely clear why, but with the release of Wastelanders, the Purveyor will no longer be at the Berkeley Springs station, but rather move to the Rusty Pick. The Rusty Pick's an in-game location in the Ash Heap. Right now, it's an interesting location, but it doesn't have a lot going on. There's a few pieces of lore and backstory as to the bar itself, but overall it's forgettable. So now the Rusty Pick will be the location of the legendary Purveyor, which I actually think is kind of exciting. It would be cool if they flesh out the legendary Purveyor with either some newer additional features, like maybe there'll be another trader at this new place, or even just some lore or backstory around her. But of course, that also is going to be one new location coming with Wastelanders, which is definitely exciting. The Ash Heap region overall is one that I think looks really cool, but otherwise is probably the weakest of the 6. There just isn't a ton going on as far as quest or repeatable content goes, but with Wastelanders, we already know many of these locations are getting quite a bit of love. So hopefully it does get a somewhat overhaul with that DLC.